In the busy streets of New York City, where thousands of footsteps echo every single day, lived a man who had everything, and a woman who had nothing. Michael Thompson, a self-made millionaire, was known for his sharp mind and cold heart. At just 34, he owned one of the biggest real estate companies in Manhattan. People respected him, but no one really loved him. Behind the expensive suits and shining cars, Michael carried a deep emptiness, a loneliness he could never escape. On the other side of the city, under a broken street lamp, sat Emily Parker. She was only 26, but life had already taken everything from her. She once dreamed of becoming a nurse, but after her parents passed away, debts and struggles left her homeless. Her only belongings were an old backpack, a worn-out jacket, and a journal filled with her unspoken dreams. One cold evening, fate brought them together. Michael was leaving a charity gala, his heart heavy with thoughts he never shared. As his driver pulled over near a convenience store, Michael stepped out to take a walk. That's when he saw her, Emily, curled up on the sidewalk, shivering in the bitter wind. For reasons he couldn't explain, he stopped. "Michael," softly, "hey, are you okay?" Emily slowly looked up, her eyes filled with both shame and pride. "Emily, I'm fine. Please, don't pity me." Her voice was fragile, yet strong. And for the first time in years, Michael felt something stir inside him. Narrator. That night, their worlds touched. And neither of them knew that this single encounter would change their lives forever. Michael offered her food, but Emily refused. He tried again, gently. She finally agreed, but only on one condition. "Emily, don't treat me like I'm broken. I'm still human." Her words pierced through Michael's heart. They sat at a small diner together. For the first time, Michael wasn't a millionaire and Emily wasn't homeless. They were just two souls, searching for warmth in a cold world. And as Emily laughed faintly at one of his awkward jokes, Michael realized something shocking about himself. He wanted to see her again. Narrator. Slow, suspenseful tone. But Michael wasn't looking for love. He was searching for something else, something Emily could give him. And that secret would soon tear both of their lives apart. The night at the diner lingered in Michael's mind long after he dropped Emily back near the shelter. He had spoken to countless business partners, politicians, and billionaires before, but none of them had ever made his heart heavy the way this young homeless woman did. He couldn't sleep. He kept remembering her words, "Don't treat me like I'm broken. I'm still human." It echoed inside him like a truth he had ignored for years. But there was another truth, a darker one, haunting Michael's life. Years ago, doctors had told him something that shattered him: he couldn't have children. Despite all his wealth, despite everything he achieved, Michael couldn't fulfill the one dream his late mother always wished for him, to have a family. And now, seeing Emily, vulnerable yet strong, broken yet dignified, an idea began to form in Michael's mind. The next evening, he searched for her. Hours later, he found Emily sitting on the same sidewalk, writing in her little journal. Michael approached cautiously. "Michael, Emily, can we talk?" She looked up, surprised he even remembered her name. "Emily, hesitant, you again? Why would a man like you waste his time with me?" "Michael, because I want to make you an offer." Narrator. Emily narrowed her eyes. She had met men before who made offers, none of them good. She was ready to walk away when Michael spoke again, his voice calm but serious. "Michael, I'll pay you. Enough to change your life completely. But in return, I need something from you." Emily froze, fear creeping into her heart. Emily, defensive if this is another dirty. Michael, interrupting quickly, "No. Not that. Emily, I want you to have a child. For me." Silence. The busy city street around them faded. Emily stared at him, her breath caught in her throat. "Emily, shocked you? You want me to, what?" "Michael, I know how this sounds. But I've wanted a child for years. I can't have one the normal way. You could give me that chance. I'd make sure you're taken care of, money, a home, safety. Everything you've lost, I can give back." Emily's eyes filled with tears, a storm of emotions raging inside her. "Emily," whispering, "you're asking me to give away my baby? My own blood?" Michael, softly, almost pleading, "Yes. In return, you'll never have to sleep on the streets again. Narrator. Emily felt her whole world spin. She had nothing, no job, no family, no future. And here stood a man offering her the one thing she desperately needed, a way out. But the cost. Her child. She closed her journal slowly, her trembling fingers betraying the battle inside her heart. Emily, through tears, you don't know what you're asking from me, Michael. A mother's heart, it doesn't just switch off. Michael's gaze softened for the first time. Michael, maybe, but sometimes life doesn't give us choices. You deserve a second chance. And so do I. Narrator, suspenseful. Emily walked away that night without giving him an answer. But his proposal burned in her chest like fire. Could she really do this? Could she sell a piece of her soul just to survive? And deep inside, Michael feared something too. What if Emily said yes? The night after Michael's proposal was the longest of Emily's life. Inside the cold shelter, the thin mattress felt like stone. Dozens of other women slept around her, their soft snores filling the room, but Emily's eyes remained wide open. Her fingers clutched her worn-out journal against her chest. She whispered into the dark. Emily, to herself, how can I even think about this? How can I give life, only to give it away? Narrator. Her heart pulled her in two directions. One side screamed no, no amount of money could replace a mother's bond. But the other side whispered yes, yes, this was her one chance to climb out of the pit life had thrown her into. Hours passed. Her tears soaked into the thin pillow until the first light of dawn crept through the cracked window. The next day, Emily avoided the streets where Michael might find her. She wandered aimlessly, searching for answers in strangers' faces, in church bells that rang in the distance, in the quiet hum of the city. Narrator. But that evening, as she sat on a park bench staring at children playing tag, she felt a presence beside her. Michael. He sat down carefully, not too close, not too far. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Emily broke the silence. Emily, softly, still watching the children, do you know what you're really asking for, Michael? You're asking me to carry a heartbeat inside me, feel it grow, and then give it away. Do you know what that does to a woman? Michael's voice cracked, though he tried to hide it. Michael, I don't. I can't pretend I do. But Emily, do you know what it feels like to have everything except the one thing that makes life complete? To have all the money, all the power, and still eat dinner alone every night. Narrator. His words caught her off guard. She turned to look at him, really look at him, not as a millionaire, but as a lonely man. His eyes, usually cold, now carried a weight she hadn't noticed before. Emily, hesitant, why me? Out of everyone in this city, why choose me? Michael held her gaze. Michael, because you're not like the others. You don't want my money. You looked me in the eye and reminded me you're human. Everyone else, they just see a bank account. But you see me. Narrator. Emily's chest tightened. She wanted to scream at him, to tell him this was still wrong. But deep inside, his words touched something she'd buried long ago, the need to feel seen, valued, chosen. She stood up abruptly, hugging her arms around herself. Emily, I can't answer you now. I need more time. Michael rose too, his voice calm. Michael, take all the time you need. I'll be here. Narrator. That night, Emily returned to the shelter and opened her journal. She wrote furiously, her tears staining the pages. What is the price of survival? Is it my heart? My child? Or is this fate's way of giving me a second chance? Her hand shook as she scribbled, and for the first time in years, she prayed. 2 days later, the weather turned stormy. Rain poured down as Emily sat beneath a store's awning, watching lightning split the sky. She hadn't eaten since the night before. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. And then, a black car pulled up. The window rolled down. Michael's driver stepped out with an umbrella. Driver, Miss Parker, Mr. Thompson would like you to join him for dinner. No strings. Just a meal. Narrator. Emily hesitated. Every part of her told her not to go. But her stomach rumbled, her body weak. Against her better judgment, she followed. Inside the warm glow of a 5-star restaurant, Emily felt small, her second-hand clothes drawing stares from strangers. But Michael stood as she entered, pulling out a chair for her. "Michael, gently, don't mind them. You're my guest." Narrator. Dinner passed with quiet conversation. Michael didn't bring up the proposal once. Instead, he asked about her life, her parents, her dreams of becoming a nurse, her favorite childhood memory. For the first time in years, Emily laughed freely. As they finished dessert, Michael finally spoke, his tone softer than ever. "Michael, Emily, I won't pressure you. But I'll say this, if you choose to help me, it won't just be for me. It will be for you too. I'll make sure you can study again, become the nurse you always dreamed of being. You won't just be giving, you'll be gaining your life back." Narrator. Emily's fork clattered against the plate. His words pierced her deeper than she expected. Could this be true? Could this deal actually restore the life she thought was lost forever? Her eyes filled with tears. Emily, choking back emotion, I don't know what to say. Michael reached across the table, his hand hovering just above hers. "Michael, softly, just say you'll think about it." Narrator, suspenseful tone. That night, as Michael's car dropped her off near the shelter, Emily whispered to herself. Emily, to herself, if I say yes, will I lose myself? Or will I finally be found? And as lightning cracked the sky again, Emily realized, she was closer to saying yes than she had ever admitted. But little did she know, the real shock wasn't in the deal itself. It was in what awaited her at the birth. 3 days passed after the dinner. 3 long, restless days where Emily's heart waged war against itself. The shelter felt colder than usual. The streets felt harsher. She walked past shop windows, watching families sit together inside, parents laughing with children over dinner, and her chest ached. At night, she would clutch her journal and whisper the same question over and over. Emily, to herself, if I give him this child, will I be giving up my soul? Or saving it? Narrator. On the 4th night, Emily found herself standing outside Michael's office building. The towering glass structure loomed over her, glowing against the dark sky like a symbol of everything she didn't have. She didn't even remember how her feet carried her there. She stood frozen at the entrance until a guard recognized her. "Guard, Mr. Thompson asked me to let you in, if you ever came." Narrator. With trembling steps, Emily entered the lobby. She felt out of place under the marble floors and sparkling chandeliers. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding, and soon she was standing in Michael's penthouse office, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Michael turned as she entered, surprise flickering across his face. "Michael, carefully, Emily, you came." Emily's hands shook as she held her journal tight. "Emily, I can't keep running from this. I need to give you an answer." Michael's heartbeat thundered in his chest. He gestured for her to sit, but Emily remained standing, her eyes filled with both fear and determination. "Emily," voice trembling, "you offered me money, security, a home, all in exchange for something priceless. A child. My child." Michael took a slow breath. "Michael, I know how much I'm asking. And I don't expect you to say yes easily." Emily shook her head, tears gathering in her eyes. "Emily, Michael, I've thought about it every second since you asked me, and I realized, maybe this is the only way I can rewrite my story. Maybe this is my only chance to rise again." Narrator. Michael leaned forward, hardly breathing. "Emily, through tears, so, my answer is yes. I'll do it." Silence. The words hung in the air, heavy and irreversible. Michael's chest tightened as relief and guilt collided inside him. "Michael," softly, almost whispering, "thank you, Emily. You don't know what this means to me." Narrator. Emily broke down, sobbing quietly, her hand over her mouth. She wasn't crying from relief. She was crying because she knew she had just signed away a piece of herself. Michael approached slowly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Michael, I promise you, you'll never regret this. I'll take care of everything. You'll be safe. You'll be respected. And one day, when you look back, maybe you'll see this as the moment your life began again." Emily looked up at him, her tear-streaked face carrying a single question. "Emily," weakly, "but what about me, Michael? When the baby is born, What will I have left? Narrator. Michael froze. It was the one question he had no answer for. He looked into her eyes, and for the first time, a pang of guilt cut through him like glass. He had thought of everything, contracts, lawyers, doctors, but not of Emily's heart. The silence stretched until Emily turned away, hugging herself. Emily, whispering, "I'll do it. But promise me one thing, don't ever let my child think I didn't love them." Michael's throat tightened. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to promise. But something inside him stopped. Narrator, suspenseful tone. Instead, Michael simply nodded, his eyes shadowed with secrets he wasn't ready to share. And in that moment, Emily didn't know. The deal she just agreed to would lead to a truth far more painful than she could ever imagine. Because the real shock wasn't in carrying the child. It was in what Michael planned to do once the baby was born. The morning after Emily's decision, Michael sent his driver to the shelter. For the first time in years, Emily didn't have to wake up to the sound of coughing, crying, and footsteps of strangers leaving before dawn. Instead, she was greeted by silence, and the hum of a luxury car waiting just outside. The other women stared as Emily stepped out, clutching her old backpack. Some eyes were filled with envy, others with silent prayers. Woman at shelter, whispering, "She's leaving, she got out." Narrator. Emily sat in the backseat, the leather soft beneath her hands. Her reflection in the window looked foreign, like someone she didn't recognize. When the car stopped, she found herself standing before Michael's penthouse building. The lobby sparkled with marble floors, golden chandeliers, and walls lined with fresh flowers. Emily hugged her arms tightly, feeling smaller with every step. Michael was waiting at the entrance, smiling faintly. "Michael, welcome, Emily. From now on, this is home." Narrator. Home. The word felt strange on her tongue. The elevator ride was silent. But when the doors opened, Emily gasped. The penthouse was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows, art pieces on the walls, a grand piano, furniture that looked untouched. It was beautiful, but cold. "Emily, softly, it's like a museum." Michael chuckled lightly. "Michael, it's just a place. Maybe now, with you here, it can feel more alive." Narrator. A maid showed Emily to her room, a guest suite larger than the shelter she had lived in for months. A bed with silk sheets, a bathroom with gold taps, a closet already filled with new clothes in her size. Emily touched the fabric of a simple white dress and whispered to herself. Emily, to herself, "Is this really my life now?" Narrator. But as days turned into weeks, Emily realized that wealth didn't erase fear. Michael hired doctors to run tests, lawyers to prepare contracts, and even a nutritionist to ensure Emily ate properly. Every detail of her life was suddenly under his control. One night, she found herself standing on the balcony, staring at the glittering city below. Michael joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. "Michael, you don't have to be afraid, Emily. I know this feels overwhelming, but everything I'm doing, it's to make sure you're safe." Emily turned to him, her eyes searching. "Emily, safe, but at what cost, Michael? Sometimes I feel like I'm not even me anymore. I'm just part of a deal." Michael set the tea down, his jaw tightening. "Michael, you're more than that. You're giving me something I can't get anywhere else. You're giving me hope." Narrator. His voice was raw, and for a moment, Emily saw a side of him no one else did. But she also noticed something else, the way his eyes darkened when she asked about the future. Because Michael had secrets. Secrets he wasn't ready to share. Late one night, after everyone had gone to bed, Emily wandered the penthouse halls. She stopped outside Michael's office, the door slightly ajar. Inside, he was on the phone, his voice low but urgent. "Michael, on phone, yes. The contract will ensure full custody. She won't have any claim once the child is born. No, I don't want her involved after that. Understand?" Emily's breath caught in her throat. She covered her mouth, backing away silently. Narrator. Her heart pounded as she returned to her room. She sat on the bed, clutching her journal, writing furiously as tears blurred the ink. "He doesn't just want my child, he wants to erase me. When the baby comes, I'll be nothing. Invisible. Forgotten. The next morning, Michael knocked gently at her door, carrying breakfast himself. Michael, smiling faintly, I thought we could eat together today. Emily forced a smile, hiding the storm inside her. Emily, quietly, sure, that would be nice. Narrator, slow, suspenseful. But inside, she knew the truth, this wasn't just a deal. This was a trap. And Emily had already stepped into it. Days passed in Michael's penthouse, each one carefully planned, almost scripted. Emily was given everything she had once dreamed of: warm meals, a soft bed, clothes that actually fit her. Yet, even surrounded by luxury, she often found herself sitting by the window, staring at the streets below. Because deep inside, she still felt like the girl from the sidewalk. And worse, she couldn't forget the phone call she overheard in Michael's office. She won't have any claim once the child is born. Those words echoed like a curse. Narrator. But Michael. Michael was different in person. With her, he wasn't always the ruthless businessman the world knew. Some nights, he'd sit with her at the dining table, listening as she told stories of her childhood. Emily, smiling faintly, when I was little, my mom used to sing to me every night. She said music could heal anything. Even broken hearts. Michael's eyes softened. Michael, she was right. My mother used to play the piano for me. That sound, it's the only thing that ever made this place feel like home. Narrator. For a moment, the distance between millionaire and homeless woman disappeared. They were just two children of broken pasts, sharing wounds by candlelight. One evening, Michael surprised her. He led her to the grand piano in the corner of the penthouse. His fingers touched the keys gently, hesitantly, as if waking something long asleep. Michael, quietly, I haven't played in years. He began to play a soft melody. Emily sat beside him, closing her eyes, letting the notes wash over her. For the first time, she felt safe. When the music stopped, Emily whispered, Emily, you're not as cold as you want people to believe. Michael glanced at her, a flicker of something unspoken in his eyes. Michael, maybe, but there are parts of me you don't know. Parts one don't want you to see. Narrator. Emily didn't ask what he meant. She was afraid of the answer. The next day, Michael arranged for her to visit a clinic. Doctors explained the medical process, fertility options, and contracts. The legal language blurred together, but one phrase stood out in bold print. Biological mother will forfeit all parental rights. Emily's hands trembled as she held the pen. Michael watched carefully. Michael, gently, Emily, you don't have to do this if you're not ready. I won't force you. Her eyes lifted to his, searching for truth. Emily, quietly, but if I walk away, what happens to me then? Narrator. Michael said nothing. Silence was his answer. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She slipped out onto the balcony, the city lights blinking below. She whispered into the night. Emily, to herself, am I doing this because I want to, or because I have no choice? Narrator. Michael appeared behind her, holding 2 cups of hot cocoa. Michael, you think too much, Emily. Emily, whispering, almost breaking, because I'm afraid, Michael. Afraid that once this child is here, I'll just disappear. Michael froze, then set the cups down. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Michael, you won't disappear. Not to me. Narrator. Emily turned to him, her breath catching. For a moment, she wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that behind all the contracts and secrets, there was a man who truly cared. But then, Michael's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it just long enough to see a name flash on the screen, Attorney Miller. Her heart sank. The reminder of the contract. The reminder that whatever tenderness Michael showed, his plans were still bigger, colder, final. Narrator, suspenseful tone. Emily excused herself, returning to her room, her chest heavy. She sat at her desk, writing in her journal. He says I won't disappear. But what if I already have? What if the moment I signed that paper, I gave away not just my child, but myself? She closed the book, tears falling onto its cover. And in the silence of the night, Michael stood outside her door, hand hovering over the knob, listening to her muffled sobs. His jaw clenched, his eyes closing. Michael, to himself, whispering, "Forgive me, Emily, but you don't know everything yet." Narrator, building suspense. What truth was Michael hiding? And when Emily found out, would it destroy the fragile bond they were just beginning to build? The days inside Michael's penthouse slowly blurred together. Emily had food, warmth, clothes, even laughter at times. Yet she often felt like a bird inside a golden cage. She couldn't forget his words, his touch on the piano keys, or the nights when his eyes softened as if he wanted to say more. But she also couldn't erase the memory of that phone call. She won't have any claim once the child is born. Emily's heart lived in two worlds, one pulling her closer to Michael, the other screaming at her to run. Narrator. One rainy evening, Emily wandered into the study. Shelves of books stretched across the walls, but what caught her eye was a photo frame tucked behind a row of legal documents. It was a picture of a woman, beautiful, elegant, with kind eyes. She looked like Michael. No, she looked like Michael's soul, the softer side of him he tried to hide. Emily lifted the frame just as Michael entered. Michael, quickly, almost sharply, put that back. Emily flinched, startled by the sudden edge in his voice. Emily, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry. She's beautiful. Who is she? Michael hesitated. His jaw tightened, but finally, he exhaled slowly. Michael, softly, my mother. Elizabeth Thompson. Narrator. He sat down heavily, his eyes fixed on the floor. Emily had never seen him this vulnerable. Michael, she raised me alone. My father walked out before I was even born. She worked 3 jobs just to keep me fed. And when I finally made it, when I finally built all of this, he gestured at the penthouse, she got sick. Emily's voice softened. Emily, what happened? Michael, cancer. By the time we found it, it was too late. She passed away 5 years ago. Narrator. For the first time, Michael's eyes glistened. He wasn't the untouchable millionaire now. He was just a son, who had lost his mother. Michael, quietly, her last wish, was for me to start a family. To not live alone like she did. To love, and be loved back. Emily's heart clenched. Suddenly, his desperation for a child wasn't just about legacy or wealth. It was about a promise. Emily, softly, so this is about her, about keeping her alive through your child. Michael nodded, his voice breaking. Michael, I couldn't save her. But maybe, this way, I can honor her. Narrator. Emily felt her chest tighten. For the first time, she saw the wound Michael carried beneath the polished armor of success. But even as her sympathy grew, a whisper in her heart reminded her, he still planned to take her child away completely. That night, Emily wrote in her journal, I see the broken man behind the mask. I see his pain. But I can't forget that he hides things from me. What else is buried in his past? Narrator. The next morning, Emily was in the kitchen when she overheard 2 staff members whispering. Maid, whispering, his bringing her into the same arrangement, just like before. Emily froze, gripping the edge of the counter. Butler, hushed, sure, don't speak of it. We're not supposed to. Her stomach twisted. Just like before. Narrator. That evening, Emily confronted Michael while he was pouring himself a drink. Emily, hesitant but firm. Michael, has there been someone else before me? Another arrangement. Michael's hand stilled. The glass trembled slightly before he set it down. Michael, low, controlled, who told you that? Emily, I overheard. The staff said. Just like before. What does that mean? Narrator. Michael turned away, staring out the window at the glowing skyline. His silence was louder than any words. Finally, he spoke, his voice like stone. Michael, there are things about my past you don't understand, Emily. Things I'm not ready to tell you. But know this, everything I do is for a reason. Emily's heart sank. Emily, Michael, if you want me to trust you, you can't keep shutting me out. Michael turned back, his eyes cold again, the softness gone. Michael, quiet, almost warning, trust is earned, Emily. And sometimes, the truth does more harm than lies. Narrator, suspenseful. Emily stood frozen, her hands trembling. The man who had opened his heart about his mother just hours ago was now a stranger again, shrouded in shadows. And that night, as she lay awake, one thought consumed her. What secret is he hiding? And what happened before me? Narrator, building suspense. Because whatever the truth was, it wasn't just about the past. It was about the future of the child she had agreed to bring into this world. The night was heavy with silence. Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling of her luxurious room, but her heart felt chained. The staff's words repeated endlessly in her mind. Just like before. What did it mean? Had Michael already tried this with another woman? If so, what happened to her? What happened to the child? Emily pressed her journal against her chest, whispering through tears. Emily, to herself, am I just another name in a list? Another broken woman in his plan? The next morning, Michael acted as though nothing had changed. He invited her to breakfast, complimented the way she looked in the new dress his assistant had bought for her, and even smiled more than usual. But Emily couldn't enjoy any of it. Every glance, every word, carried weight. Finally, she couldn't take it. Emily, Michael, I need the truth. Who came before me? Michael froze, his fork resting on the edge of his plate. He looked at her for a long time, then set the silverware down. Michael, quietly, this conversation isn't easy. Emily, firm, trembling, neither is carrying your child. I deserve to know. He sighed, standing and walking toward the window. His reflection in the glass looked like a man trapped by his own choices. Michael, her name was Sarah. Years ago, before I met you, she was in a similar place. Lost, struggling, alone. I offered her the same arrangement I offered you. Emily's breath caught. Emily, whispering, and the baby. Michael's jaw tightened. Michael, she changed her mind. In the 8th month, she vanished. Disappeared without a trace. I searched everywhere, hired investigators, even offered rewards. But Sarah and the baby were gone. To this day, I don't know where. Emily's chest tightened with a mix of relief and dread. Relief that Sarah hadn't been destroyed by Michael. Dread that she herself could end up like Sarah, running, hiding, terrified. Emily, and if I change my mind? Would you let me go? Michael turned, his eyes dark, unreadable. Michael, I won't stop you, Emily. But I hope you won't leave. I don't think I could survive losing, again. Narrator. His voice cracked on the last word, and for a moment, Emily saw not the powerful millionaire, but a broken man desperate not to be abandoned again. But deep inside, a seed of fear grew. If Sarah had run away, what had driven her to do it? What had she seen in Michael that made escape her only choice? That night, Emily wandered the penthouse halls. She found herself back in Michael's office, the air still heavy with his secrets. She opened a locked drawer she had seen before, and inside was a folder. Photos of Sarah. Hospital records. Contracts. Copies of missing person reports. Emily's hands shook as she flipped through the papers. At the bottom of the pile, she found something that made her blood run cold, a note written in Sarah's handwriting, dated weeks before she vanished. This isn't what I thought it would be. He's not who he seems. If I don't make it out, forgive me. Emily dropped the folder, her breath ragged. The walls of the penthouse suddenly felt like a prison. Emily, to herself, whispering, Dear God, what have I gotten myself into? Narrator, suspenseful tone. Behind the door, unseen by Emily, a shadow lingered. Michael. He had been watching silently, his face unreadable as she discovered Sarah's note. And in that chilling silence, one truth became clear. Emily's story was about to take the same dark turn Sarah's once had. Emily's fingers trembled as she clutched the note, her heart racing so fast she thought it might burst out of her chest. She didn't hear the faint creak of the door behind her. She didn't see Michael's shadow stretch across the room. When she finally turned, Michael was there, standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was suffocating. Michael, low, steady, you went through my private files. Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to explain, to defend herself, but her voice betrayed her, weak and shaky. Emily, I needed answers, Michael. You weren't telling me the truth. You said Sarah disappeared, but, she lifted the note with trembling hands, this says she was afraid of you. Michael's eyes flickered, a storm brewing behind them. He stepped inside, closing the door softly, almost too softly, like a man hiding rage under control. Michael, that note, you don't understand what it means. Emily, desperate, then explain it to me. Tell me why she wrote those words. Tell me why she ran from you. Narrator. Michael ran a hand through his hair, pacing the room like a caged animal. His voice was rough, breaking at the edges. Michael, I never hurt her. I never wanted to. Sarah, she was fragile, more fragile than you can imagine. She thought I was controlling her, but I was just trying to protect her. She didn't understand. Emily, tears forming, protect her? Or trap her? Because that's how I feel, Michael. Like I'm in a cage, with nowhere to go. Narrator. Her words hit him like a blow. For a second, his strong facade cracked. Michael, horse, do you think I don't see that fear in your eyes every time you look at me? Do you think I want that? He took a step closer, his voice softening. Michael, Emily, everything I do, every choice I make, it's because I can't lose this chance again. Sarah took that from me once. I can't let it happen twice. Don't you see? This child, it's my last hope. Emily backed away, her hands shaking. Emily, but what about me, Michael? Do I even matter in this plan of yours? Or am I just a vessel for your hope? Narrator. For the first time, Michael didn't answer immediately. He just looked at her, pain flickering in his eyes, as if the truth itself was too dangerous to speak aloud. Finally, his voice broke into a whisper. Michael, you matter more than you know. But I can't say more. Not yet. Narrator. Emily's chest ached. A part of her wanted to believe him, to reach for the vulnerable man hiding under all his walls. But another part screamed to run, just like Sarah had. And then, his phone rang. The name flashed across the screen, Attorney Miller. Michael didn't move. He just stared at the phone, jaw clenched, while Emily's heart sank deeper. Emily, whispering, is this about me? About the contract? Michael grabbed the phone, turned it off, and threw it onto the desk. His hands clenched into fists. Michael, coldly, some things are better left unanswered, Emily. Narrator. The room grew heavy, the air almost suffocating. Emily realized then that Michael's truth wasn't just about Sarah, it was about something much bigger. Something dangerous. That night, long after Michael had left her alone, Emily sat by her window, staring at the dark skyline. She whispered into the night. Emily, if Sarah ran to survive, maybe I'll have to do the same. Narrator, suspenseful tone. But what Emily didn't know was that Michael, standing alone in his study, had opened the drawer again. He held Sarah's note in his hands, his face shadowed with pain. Michael, to himself, you'll never understand, not until it's too late. The past was repeating itself, and Emily was trapped in the middle. The night stretched endlessly for Emily. She lay awake, her mind racing with Sarah's note, Michael's evasive words, and the chilling silence that followed. Every corner of the penthouse now felt dangerous, like walls that closed in a little tighter with each passing day. When dawn finally broke, she moved quietly, slipping through the hallways. The staff greeted her politely, but she noticed something unsettling. Their eyes lingered longer, their smiles felt forced, as though they were watching her too closely. Emily's instinct whispered, they know. They're making sure I don't leave. She decided then, she needed a plan. Narrator. Later that day, Emily sat with Michael at the breakfast table. He was calm, composed, as though nothing had happened the night before. Michael, I've arranged for you to see another doctor this week. They'll handle the next stage of the process. Emily forced a smile, nodding, though her insides churned. Emily, that sounds fine. But behind her smile, her mind screamed, I need to get out before it's too late. Narrator. Emily began noticing details she hadn't before, the way the penthouse elevators required a special keycard, the way guards stood discreetly outside the building, and how her phone had never been returned since Michael first took it. She felt like a guest, and a prisoner. That afternoon, while Michael was out for a meeting, Emily sneaked into his study again. Her hands shook as she rifled through his desk, searching for anything that might give her a way out. Buried beneath papers, she found a drawer with passports. Some were his, but one froze her blood. It was hers. Her name, her face, but the document was stamped restricted. Emily, whispering his, controlling even this. Her chest tightened as she slipped the passport back. Her breathing was uneven, panic clawing at her throat. Narrator. She wrote a quick note in her journal. If I don't make it out, whoever finds this, please know I tried. My name is Emily Carter. I was here. Narrator. That night, Michael returned earlier than expected. Emily stiffened as he entered her room, carrying a small velvet box. Michael, smiling faintly, I brought you something. He opened it to reveal a delicate silver bracelet, engraved with the words forever bound. Emily, softly, uneasy, it's beautiful. Michael fastened it around her wrist himself, his fingers lingering. Michael, quietly, now you'll always remember that you're safe here. With me. Narrator. Emily's heart pounded. Safe. Or trapped. The bracelet felt less like a gift and more like a shackle. When he left, Emily tugged at it, realizing it had a hidden lock mechanism. She couldn't remove it. Her fear grew into terror. Narrator. The next morning, Emily slipped into the service hallway, pretending to explore. She found a young maid, her eyes kind but wary. Emily, desperate whisper, please, can you help me? I need to get out of here. The maid's face paled. She glanced around nervously. Maid, hushed, don't say that too loudly. Cameras are everywhere. He hears more than you think. Emily, pleading, I'm begging you. Just tell me if there's a way. The maid hesitated, then whispered so softly Emily almost missed it. Maid, there's a delivery entrance in the basement. But be careful. If he catches you. Her words trailed off, eyes full of fear. Narrator. Emily's heart raced. Finally, a chance. A way out. But as she turned the corner, clutching onto this fragile hope, she nearly collided with Michael. His sharp eyes locked onto hers, scanning her face like he could see every secret thought. Michael, low, searching, where were you just now, Emily? Emily's lips parted, but no words came. She could feel the weight of the bracelet on her wrist, the hidden lock biting into her skin. Narrator, suspenseful tone. For the first time, she wondered if Michael already knew about her plan, and was just waiting to see if she'd dare to try. That night, Emily could barely breathe. The maid's whispered words played over and over in her mind, delivery entrance in the basement. It was her only hope. Her only way out of the golden prison. She waited until the penthouse grew quiet. Michael had retired to his study, the faint sound of piano notes echoing through the walls. They were haunting, slow, like the heartbeat of a man wrestling with ghosts. Emily slipped from her room, heart pounding so loudly she was sure the cameras could hear it. She kept to the shadows, padding softly down the service staircase until she reached the basement. Narrator. The air was colder there, damp with the smell of concrete and iron. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, and the hum of machinery filled the silence. At the far end of the corridor, Emily spotted it, the delivery door. Heavy. Steel. A keypad glowing faintly beside it. Her hands trembled as she reached for the handle. Locked. She pressed against the keypad, hoping it might be simple. But when she tried random numbers, a sharp beep echoed, followed by a red warning light. Panic rushed through her veins. Emily, whispering to herself, no, please, just open. Narrator. Footsteps. Her heart froze. She darted into the shadows behind a stack of crates. The footsteps grew louder, steady, deliberate. Then a voice. Michael, calm, almost amused, going somewhere, Emily. Emily's breath caught in her throat. He was here. He had known. Michael stepped into view, his silhouette sharp under the fluorescent glow. His eyes scanned the locked delivery door before turning to the crates where she hid. Michael, softly, but edged, you think I don't notice when you're gone? This isn't a hotel, Emily. You can't just come and go as you please. Narrator. Emily slowly emerged from the shadows, her knees weak, her voice breaking. Emily, I can't live like this, Michael. I'm suffocating. I'm not your prisoner. His expression flickered, hurt, anger, something darker. Michael, quiet, controlled. You're not my prisoner. You're my hope. And hope doesn't run away in the middle of the night. Emily, shaking, desperate. Sarah ran, didn't she? She saw what I see now. She saw the truth about you. Narrator. Michael's jaw clenched, his voice rising for the first time. Michael, Sarah made a mistake. She didn't trust me, and because of that, she and the child are gone forever. I won't let history repeat itself. Not with you. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Emily, then what are you going to do, Michael? Lock me up until I give you a child? Chain me to this place until I break? Narrator. For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Michael's chest rose and fell, his fists tight at his sides. Then he stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Michael, you think I'm the monster in this story, Emily. But there are things you don't know. Things Sarah never knew. If you walk out of here, you'll never understand. And you'll never survive. Emily's stomach twisted. Emily, trembling, what are you talking about? Michael leaned in, his eyes burning with intensity. Michael, soft, chilling. There are people who would do far worse to you than I ever would. People who'd use you, break you, discard you. I'm the only one keeping you safe. Narrator. Emily's body shook as she backed away, pressing against the cold wall. His words wrapped around her like chains, not love, not safety, but fear disguised as protection. And then, before she could answer, Michael's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his face tightening. It was Attorney Miller. He silenced the call, his gaze snapping back to her. Michael, go back upstairs, Emily. We'll talk tomorrow. Narrator. Emily didn't move. She wanted to scream, to fight, but her legs obeyed his command before her heart could. She walked past him, her skin crawling, her mind screaming for freedom. As she climbed the staircase, her thoughts blurred into one chilling truth. Michael wasn't just hiding secrets. He was guarding something dangerous. Something that made Sarah run. Narrator, suspenseful tone. And now, Emily knew she had only two choices left: find out what he was hiding, or risk running before it was too late. What she didn't see was Michael, standing alone in the basement, staring at the locked delivery door with eyes full of torment. Michael, to himself, whispering, why can't you understand, Emily? If you leave, they'll take everything. The next morning, the penthouse felt different. Emily noticed it the moment she woke. The staff moved more cautiously, their eyes flicking toward her then quickly away, like they'd been warned. Michael wasn't at breakfast, and the chair where he usually sat remained hauntingly empty. She pushed her food around the plate, her mind replaying his words from the basement. If you leave, they'll take everything. Who were they? What was he hiding so fiercely that he would risk terrifying her rather than telling the truth? Narrator. Hours passed before Michael finally returned. His face was pale, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. He tried to act normal, but Emily could see the cracks in his carefully built mask. Emily, quietly. Michael, who are you so afraid of? He froze mid-step, his jaw tightening. Michael, calmly, deflecting, it doesn't matter. Not to you. Emily, pleading, it matters to me if it's the reason you're keeping me here like a prisoner. If Sarah ran because of it, if I might have to. Her words broke. Michael closed his eyes, his hands curling into fists. Michael, low, almost a whisper, they're the investors. Narrator. Emily blinked, confused. Emily, investors? What does that mean? Michael turned to face her, his voice heavy with something darker than anger. Michael, when I started my empire, I wasn't as powerful as I am now. I borrowed money. I made promises. They weren't just businessmen, Emily. They were people who don't take no for an answer. He stepped closer, his voice shaking. Michael, one of those promises was that I would secure an heir. Someone to carry the Thompson legacy forward. They don't care about me. They care about control. About what comes after me. Emily's blood ran cold. Emily, so this isn't just about your mother's wish. It's about them. About you owing them. Michael nodded, shame flickering in his eyes. Michael, if I fail, they'll tear everything apart. They'll ruin me. And you'll be nothing but collateral damage. Narrator. Emily staggered back, the weight of his confession crushing her chest. So Sarah hadn't just run from Michael. She had run from them. From the shadowy figures who had invested not in a man, but in a legacy they intended to own. Emily, whispering, you should have told me. Michael, anguished, and what then? You would have left the same night. Just like Sarah. And I can't lose this chance again, Emily. I won't. Narrator. Emily's eyes filled with tears, but beneath the sorrow was fire. Emily, you say you're protecting me. But you're protecting yourself. You're keeping me here not because of love, but because you're afraid. Michael's voice dropped, almost breaking. Michael, I'm afraid of losing everything. And yes, I'm afraid of losing you too. Narrator. His words cut her deeply, because for the briefest moment, she believed them. She believed that buried beneath the contracts and lies was a man who truly cared. But she also knew the truth. If she stayed, she and her child would never be free. They would always belong to them. Narrator. That night, when Michael finally slept, Emily sat by the window, clutching her journal. She scribbled furiously. He isn't the only danger. The investors want my child as much as he does. If I stay, I'll lose myself. If I run, I might lose everything. But I can't let my baby be born into chains. She closed the book, tears staining the page. Then, slowly, Emily turned her gaze to the silver bracelet around her wrist, forever bound. She tugged at the lock until her skin burned, whispering through clenched teeth. Emily, to herself, I won't be bound forever. Not by him. Not by them. Narrator, suspenseful tone. And as the city lights glowed against the glass, Emily made her decision. She would escape, not just for herself, but for the child growing inside her. What she didn't know was that Michael, lying in the darkness of the next room, was awake. His eyes were open, fixed on the ceiling, his heart pounding with the same unspoken fear. Michael, to himself, whispering, if she runs, they'll find her. And this time, it won't just be me who loses. The clock was ticking. For Emily. For Michael. For the child who hadn't even been born. The following days were tense, each one heavier than the last. Emily moved through the penthouse with forced calm, smiling when Michael was near, nodding when the staff passed by. But inside, every heartbeat carried a secret, her plan to escape. She hadn't forgotten the maid's whisper about the delivery entrance. And now, with Michael's confession about the investors echoing in her mind, she knew she couldn't waste time. Every moment she stayed, the walls seemed to close in tighter, the bracelet around her wrist cutting deeper into her skin. Narrator. Late one afternoon, when Michael was out at a supposed meeting, Emily slipped into the service hall again. She found the maid, the only one who had shown even a flicker of kindness. Emily, urgent whisper please. I need your help. I can't stay here. I have to get out. The maid's hands shook as she adjusted the tray she was carrying. Her eyes darted toward the cameras fixed in the corners of the hallway. Maid, hushed, if he finds out I helped you. Emily, pleading, her eyes wet, then don't do it for me. Do it for the baby. Please. I don't want my child born into this. Narrator. The maid's face softened, her lips trembling. After a long silence, she gave the faintest nod. Maid, tomorrow night. The delivery trucks come around midnight. I'll leave the back entrance unlocked for 5 minutes. No more. You'll have to move fast. Emily's chest swelled with both fear and hope. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to imagine the outside world, freedom, fresh air, a life away from contracts and shadows. Narrator. That night, she pretended everything was normal. She even sat with Michael at dinner, nodding as he talked about business expansions and his mother's charity foundation. But every smile she gave him was a mask, every laugh rehearsed. Her heart, meanwhile, was already racing toward midnight tomorrow. Michael, studying her closely, you seem different tonight. Lighter. Emily forced a small smile. Emily, maybe I'm just getting used to being here. Michael's eyes lingered on her, suspicious, but he said nothing more. Narrator. When the clock finally struck midnight the following night, Emily crept from her room, her pulse pounding in her ears. The penthouse was quiet, the city beyond the windows glowing with neon and shadow. She moved quickly down the service staircase, every step echoing like thunder. At the basement, her breath caught. The steel door was ajar, just as the maid had promised. The cool night air seeped through the crack, carrying the scent of gasoline and freedom. Emily's eyes filled with tears. This is it. This is my chance. Narrator. She stepped forward, her hand brushing the cold steel. And then a voice cut through the darkness. Michael, calm, but edged with steel, going somewhere. Emily. Emily froze. Her stomach dropped, her knees almost giving way. Slowly, she turned. Michael stood a few feet away, his expression unreadable. But his eyes, sharp, wounded, burning, locked onto her like a predator who had caught his prey. Emily, voice trembling. Michael, please. You don't understand. I can't stay here. I can't. He stepped closer, his presence towering, suffocating. Michael, low, steady. You think I don't know you've been planning this? That I don't see the way you look at the doors, the cameras, the staff? I warned you, Emily. Out there, it's not safe. Emily, breaking, desperate. Safe? This isn't safety. This is prison. I'd rather take my chances out there than live like this. Narrator. Her words struck him like lightning. For a long moment, Michael said nothing. His chest rose and fell sharply, his hands clenched at his sides. Then, slowly, his voice dropped, filled with something darker than anger, desperation. Michael, you think you're running from me. But the truth is, you're running straight into their hands. Emily's blood turned cold. Emily, whispering, whose hands? Michael's gaze hardened. Michael, the ones who took Sarah. Narrator, suspenseful tone. Emily's heart stopped. Sarah hadn't just disappeared. She had been taken. And now, standing at the edge of freedom, Emily realized she might be stepping into the same fate. The basement air felt colder now, sharp enough to cut through Emily's skin. Her body was frozen, one hand still resting on the steel door, the other trembling at her side. Michael's words hung in the silence like a shadow she couldn't escape. The ones who took Sarah. Emily's voice cracked as she forced the question out. Emily, what do you mean? You told me Sarah ran away. You said you didn't know where she went. Michael's jaw clenched, his eyes dark. For the first time, Emily saw not just power in his expression, but torment. Michael, quietly, I lied. Because the truth would have broken you sooner. Narrator. He stepped closer, and though Emily wanted to shrink back, part of her needed the answer, needed the truth that had been poisoning her thoughts for weeks. Michael, the investors, they're not businessmen in suits. They are predators. They funded me when I was nothing, when I had dreams bigger than my bank account. I signed contracts without knowing what strings came attached. He rubbed his temple, his voice cracking as he continued. Michael, when Sarah carried my child, they decided she was leverage. Insurance. They took her before the birth. I searched, I begged, I offered them everything to bring her back, but they never returned her. Or the baby. Narrator. Emily's knees weakened, her hand flying to her stomach instinctively. Emily, whispering, so Sarah didn't run. She was stolen. Michael nodded, pain etched in every line of his face. Michael, hoarse, and if you walk out that door, they'll know. They'll come for you too. And this time, Emily, I won't be able to stop them. Narrator. Emily's tears blurred her vision. The weight of the truth pressed down on her like chains. Emily, why didn't you tell me? Why keep me in the dark, locked up like some prisoner? Michael's voice rose, desperate, raw. Michael, because the moment you knew, you'd want to run. Just like now. And if you run, you won't make it far before they find you. Keeping you here, it was the only way I knew to keep you safe. Narrator. Emily staggered back, shaking her head. Emily, safe? Michael, you don't get it. I can't breathe here. I can't live under this fear. If I stay, I lose myself. If I leave, I risk losing everything. What kind of choice is that? Michael stepped closer, his hand reaching out, trembling slightly. Michael, it's not fair. I know that. But Emily, you're not just carrying my child. You're carrying the one thing that can free me from them. If this baby is born under my protection, I can finally cut ties. They won't control me anymore. Narrator. Emily's heart twisted. His words were drenched in desperation, in pain, in a kind of love warped by fear. But beneath it all, she saw the truth. Michael wasn't just fighting for a child. He was fighting for redemption, for survival. Yet in his fight, he was dragging her into a war she never asked for. Emily's voice broke into sobs. Emily, and what about me, Michael? Do you even care what happens to me in all this? Michael's face softened, his voice dropping to a whisper. Michael, more than you know. More than I can ever say. But caring doesn't change the fact that if you leave me now, they'll take you too. Narrator. Silence fell heavy between them. Emily's chest heaved with sobs as Michael stood there, broken but unbending, trapped between his own sins and the chains of men darker than him. Finally, Emily stepped back from the door, her voice trembling. Emily, then I'm already trapped. Whether I stay or go, I lose. Michael's eyes glistened, but before he could answer, the sharp buzz of his phone shattered the silence. He pulled it out, and the screen lit up with a message. Emily caught a glimpse of the words before he turned it away. We need to discuss the girl. Midnight. Don't be late. The message on Michael's phone haunted Emily long after he slipped it back into his pocket. We need to discuss the girl. The words played in her mind over and over, each time twisting tighter around her chest. Michael left the basement without another word, but Emily stood frozen in the cold air. A part of her wanted to collapse, to give in to the fear. But another part burned with determination. If the investors were planning something, she needed to know what. That night, Michael dressed in a dark suit and left the penthouse without explanation. Emily watched him from behind the curtains, her heart racing as the sleek black car pulled away. Narrator. The maid slipped into Emily's room soon after, her face pale. Maid, whispering he's gone. But he won't be gone long. Don't do anything reckless. Emily grabbed her wrist, desperation in her voice. Emily, where does he go? Where does he meet them? The maid hesitated, her lips trembling. Maid, the old warehouse by the docks. It's where everything happens. But you can't. Emily cut her off, her voice shaking but resolute. Emily, I have to. I can't keep living blind. Narrator. Minutes later, Emily was wrapped in the maid's oversized coat, her hair hidden under a hood. She slipped through the service door, her pulse hammering with every step toward the unknown. The city was alive with noise, distant sirens, the hum of traffic, the crash of waves against the docks. Emily's feet carried her faster than her fear, until she reached the shadow of the warehouse. Narrator. The building loomed like a sleeping beast, its broken windows glowing faintly with light inside. Emily crept to a cracked panel near the side, pressing her ear against the wood. Inside, men's voices echoed. Low, commanding, edged with menace. Investor one, she's carrying the air. This time, you can't afford mistakes, Michael. Michael, sharp, defensive. I won't make the same mistake. She's different. She trusts me. Emily's heart clenched. He was lying. She didn't trust him. Not anymore. Investor two, cold. You said that about Sarah too. And look what happened. We had to step in. Narrator. Emily's breath caught in her throat. They admitted it. They were the ones who had taken Sarah. Michael's voice rose, strained with anger. Michael, you went behind my back. You destroyed everything I had with her. And for what? To remind me you own me. A chilling laugh echoed inside. Investor one, ownership isn't the word, Michael. Obligation is. Don't forget who built you. Don't forget who can tear you down. Narrator. Emily pressed her hands to her mouth, her body shaking. Investor two, as for the girl, Emily, we'll take her once the child is born. You've had your chance at redemption. The legacy belongs to us. Narrator. The blood drained from Emily's face. They weren't going to let her go. Not after the baby came. Inside, Michael slammed his hand against a table, his voice breaking through the warehouse. Michael, furious, no. You won't touch her. Not this time. I'll give you money. I'll give you everything I have. But Emily stays with me. Silence followed. Then the cruel, amused voice of Investor One. Investor One, you think you're negotiating? You forget, Michael, we already own you. You don't get to keep what we decide to take. Narrator. Emily's tears blurred her vision. The truth was sharper than any knife. She was never meant to be free. The baby was never meant to be hers. Suddenly, a creak echoed behind her. Emily spun, her heart leaping into her throat. A tall figure loomed in the shadows, one of the guards patrolling outside the warehouse. Guard, suspicious, who's there? Emily's body froze, her breath catching. She backed away, her foot snapping a twig under the weight of her step. The guard's eyes narrowed as he reached for his radio. Guard, loud, urgent, we've got someone outside. Narrator, suspenseful. The warehouse door slammed open, spilling light into the darkness. Heavy footsteps pounded toward Emily as she stumbled back, her hood slipping from her head. And in that split second, Michael's voice thundered from inside, a mix of shock and fear. Michael, Emily. Her heart stopped. She had been caught. The harsh light from the warehouse spilled across Emily's face as the guard yanked her forward, his grip bruising her arm. Her hood slipped down completely, exposing her trembling features. Inside, the investors' heads turned, their cold eyes narrowing at the sight of her. Michael's face went pale, as if the ground had just been ripped out from beneath him. Investor One, mocking, well, the little bird has flown from the cage. Investor Two, smirking, seems she's smarter than Sarah was. At least this one knew to follow the trail. Emily's knees shook, but she stood her ground. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run, but she forced herself to speak. Emily, voice breaking but strong, you won't take me. You won't take my child. Narrator. Her words drew laughter from the investors, cruel and sharp. Investor One, you think you have a choice? You were bought the moment Michael signed his name. The child you carry belongs to us as much as it does to him. Michael's fists clenched at his sides, his chest rising and falling with fury. Michael, snapping, enough. She's not yours. She's not part of this deal. Investor Two, coldly, and if we say she is? Narrator. The warehouse grew heavier with silence. Emily's eyes darted to Michael, searching his face, desperate for something, anything, to prove he would fight for her. And then, Michael moved. He stepped in front of her, blocking the investor's view, his voice a low growl. Michael, then you'll have to go through me first. Narrator. Emily's breath caught. For the first time, she saw not just the ruthless businessman, but the man who was terrified of losing her, the man fighting demons bigger than himself. But the investors didn't flinch. Investor One, amused, careful, Michael. You've forgotten your place before. Don't make us remind you how we dealt with Sarah. Emily's eyes widened, her voice trembling. Emily, what did you do to her? Investor Two, calm, cruel. Sarah was disobedient. She thought she could run, raise the child as her own. We corrected her mistake. That's all you need to know. Narrator. Emily gasped, her hand flying to her stomach protectively. Tears blurred her vision as the horror sank in. Emily, screaming, you monsters. The guard tightened his grip on her arm, but before he could drag her forward, Michael lunged. His fist connected with the guard's jaw, sending him sprawling to the ground. Michael, furious, don't touch her. Narrator. Chaos erupted in the warehouse. The investors rose to their feet, their calm facade cracking as Michael pulled Emily behind him. Investor One, snarling, you forget who you're dealing with. Do this, and you sign both your death warrants. Michael's voice thundered, his body shaking with rage. Michael, so be it. I won't let you steal another woman from me. Not again. Narrator. Emily clung to his arm, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe what she was witnessing. Michael, the man who had caged her, was now the only shield between her and the wolves who wanted to claim her unborn child. The investors exchanged a look, cold and calculating. Investor Two, fine. Protect her if you wish. But remember this, Michael, every empire falls. And when yours does, she'll be the first we take. Narrator. With that, the men turned, their footsteps echoing as they disappeared into the shadows of the warehouse. The guard, groaning on the floor, was dragged out by another unseen figure. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily's body shook as she looked up at Michael, tears streaking her face. Emily, whispering, "Why? Why would you risk everything for me?" Michael turned to her, his face pale but his eyes fierce. Michael, hoarse, "Because I couldn't live with losing you too." Narrator. Emily's heart twisted painfully. She wanted to believe him, to surrender to the flicker of love she thought she saw in his eyes. But the fear of what she had just learned burned too deep. She pulled her hand away from his arm, her voice trembling. "Emily, you should have told me the truth from the beginning. About them. About Sarah. About everything." Michael's gaze dropped, guilt flooding his expression. "Michael, I know. And now it might be too late." The ride back from the warehouse was silent. Michael drove with one hand tight on the wheel, his jaw clenched so hard it looked like it might shatter. Emily sat stiff in the passenger seat, her hands folded protectively over her stomach, her eyes fixed on the blur of city lights outside the window. Every so often, she glanced at him. His knuckles were white, his breathing sharp, but he never looked at her. Not once. When the car finally pulled into the penthouse garage, Michael cut the engine and sat still for a long moment. "Michael," low, almost whispering, "I shouldn't have brought you there." Emily's throat tightened, but she kept her gaze forward. "Emily, you shouldn't have lied to me either." Narrator. Michael flinched, like her words were a blade pressed to his chest. He turned to her, his eyes weary. "Michael, Emily, I've made mistakes. I thought keeping the truth from you would protect you. But it only put you in more danger." Emily finally met his gaze, her eyes burning with tears. "Emily," shaking her head, "you don't get it. I'm not afraid of the truth, Michael. I'm afraid of being trapped in it." Narrator. They entered the penthouse quietly. The staff scurried out of sight, sensing the storm in the air. Emily retreated to her room without another word, locking the door behind her. Once inside, she collapsed on the bed, her hands covering her face as sobs shook her body. Narrator. She remembered the investor's words. "Once the child is born, we'll take her. The legacy belongs to us." They weren't going to let her live a normal life. Not here, not with Michael, not anywhere near this empire of shadows. And that's when Emily made up her mind. She couldn't just plan an escape from Michael anymore. She had to disappear from both him and the investors. Forever. Narrator. The next morning, Michael tried to bridge the silence. He brought her breakfast himself, eggs, toast, tea. She barely touched it. "Michael, softly, you need to eat. For the baby." Emily looked up at him, her voice steady despite the ache inside. "Emily, do you even hear yourself, Michael? You talk about the baby like it's a prize to be won. What about me? Do I matter at all?" Michael's face tightened. "Michael, of course you matter. You matter more than anyone. That's why I'm—" Emily cut him off, her voice sharp. "Emily, that's why you locked me up. That's why you lied. That's why you brought me into a world where men treat women and children like property. If that's love, Michael, then I don't want it." Narrator. The words struck him harder than any blow. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he turned and left the room, the door closing softly behind him. Narrator. Emily waited until his footsteps faded. Then she pulled out her journal and began writing furiously. "I can't wait any longer. They'll never stop. Michael might protect me now, but eventually, he'll bend to them, or they'll break him. I need to find a way out. Somewhere far enough they'll never think to look. For me. For my child." She paused, her hand trembling, then added, "I won't end up like Sarah." Narrator. That night, while Michael was in his office, Emily slipped out to the kitchen. The maid was there, washing dishes, her eyes flicking nervously when she saw her. Emily, whispering, "Please. I need your help again. Not just for the door. I need to disappear. Completely." The maid's face drained of color. "Maid," shaking her head, "you don't understand. They'll find you. They have eyes everywhere. Emily's voice broke, but her determination burned stronger than her fear. Emily, then help me find a way they can't. Narrator. The maid hesitated, glancing toward the office where Michael's shadow moved under the door. Finally, she whispered. Maid, there's someone. A driver who works the docks. He helped Sarah once. Before she was taken. If anyone can get you far enough, it's him. Emily's heart leapt, hope flickering in the darkness. Emily, softly, can you contact him? The maid nodded slowly. Maid, but you'll have to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. Once the wheels are in motion, there's no turning back. Narrator, suspenseful. Emily gripped the maid's hand tightly, tears streaming down her face. Emily, then do it. Please. Before it's too late. And as the maid gave a faint nod, the sound of Michael's office door creaking open sent chills down Emily's spine. Michael stepped into the hallway, his eyes narrowing as he spotted the two women whispering in the kitchen. Michael, calm, suspicious, what's going on here? The kitchen lights buzzed softly as Michael's figure filled the doorway. His eyes, sharp and calculating, darted from Emily's flushed face to the maid's trembling hands still dripping with dishwater. The silence that followed felt like a noose tightening around both women's necks. Michael, slow, measured, I asked a question. What's going on here? Emily forced a shaky smile, her pulse hammering in her ears. Emily, lightly, forcing calm, nothing, just talking. I was restless, couldn't sleep. She was kind enough to keep me company. Michael's gaze lingered on her, reading her like a book. For a moment, Emily feared he could see right through her thin excuse. Then his eyes slid to the maid, narrowing. Michael, coldly, is that true? The maid swallowed hard, nodding quickly. Maid, yes, sir. Just a little conversation. Nothing more. Narrator. Michael studied her for another long, suffocating moment. Then, with a faint smirk, he stepped into the room. Michael, interesting. You've never been much of a talker before. The maid lowered her gaze, her knuckles white against the edge of the sink. Emily's stomach twisted with dread. If Michael suspected even a sliver of betrayal, the maid's life would be destroyed. Michael walked toward Emily, placing a hand gently under her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. Michael, soft, unsettling. If you ever feel restless again, you come to me. Not the help. Do you understand? Emily's throat tightened, but she nodded. Emily, whispering, I understand. Narrator. His hand lingered for a moment too long before he let go, his gaze flicking once more to the maid. Michael, low, sharp, and you. Remember your place. I trust you with her comfort, not with her secrets. The maid stiffened, nodding quickly. Maid, yes, sir. Narrator. Without another word, Michael turned and left the kitchen, his footsteps fading into the hall. But even when he was gone, his presence lingered, a weight pressing down on both women's chests. Emily's knees nearly gave out as she leaned against the counter, her breath coming fast. The maid pressed a hand to her chest, whispering shakily. Maid, he knows something. I could see it in his eyes. If he even suspects. Emily, urgent, whispering, then we don't have time. Contact the driver. Tonight. Please. Narrator. The maid hesitated, fear etched into every line of her face. But then she nodded, her voice barely audible. Maid, I'll try. But once I do, there's no undoing it. If he finds out. Emily gripped her hand tightly. Emily, if he finds out, I'll already be gone. Narrator. That night, Emily lay awake in her room, staring at the ceiling. Every sound in the penthouse felt amplified, the ticking clock, the wind brushing against the glass, the faint creak of footsteps in the hallway. Her mind replayed Michael's words at the warehouse, his fists clenched as he stood between her and the investors. Was it real? Did he mean it? Or was she just another pawn in his desperate attempt to keep control? Emily pressed her hand to her stomach, tears filling her eyes. Emily, whispering, I won't let them take you. I swear it. Narrator. The following evening, the maid slipped a small piece of folded paper under Emily's plate at dinner. Michael sat across from her, sipping wine, his gaze lingering on her every movement. Emily forced herself to eat slowly, calmly, as if nothing were amiss. Later, in the safety of her locked room, she unfolded the note with trembling hands. Tomorrow night. 2 a.m. The loading dock. Driver will be waiting. Be ready. Narrator. Emily's heart pounded as she clutched the paper. Freedom was closer than ever. But fear gnawed at her. Would Michael sense it? Would the investors be watching? The next day dragged like eternity. Michael was unusually quiet, watching her with unreadable eyes. At times, Emily wondered if he already knew. As midnight neared, she dressed in plain clothes, black pants, a sweater, her hood pulled tight. She packed nothing but the journal, clutching it against her chest. When the clock struck 2, Emily slipped barefoot into the hall, her heart hammering so loudly she feared it would wake the entire penthouse. She crept toward the loading dock, the air growing colder as she descended. The steel door loomed ahead, slightly ajar. She could already see headlights flickering faintly outside. Her breath caught. This was it. Narrator, suspenseful. But just as Emily reached for the door, a voice behind her froze her blood. Michael, low, calm, dangerous, going somewhere, Emily. Narrator. Her body turned rigid, her hand still inches from freedom. Slowly, she turned, her hood falling back. Michael stood in the shadows, his expression unreadable, his eyes burning with both fury and something deeper. Michael, softly, I told you, if you run, they'll find you. And this time, I may not be able to stop them. Emily's chest rose and fell in ragged breaths, her body frozen in the hallway's dim light. The steel door was so close, just a few steps away. Beyond it, headlights glowed faintly, a beacon of escape. But Michael's shadow blocked the path, tall and unyielding. He took a step forward, his voice low but trembling with something raw. Michael, Emily, don't do this. Emily's throat tightened, tears stinging her eyes. Emily, whispering, I don't have a choice. Michael's jaw tightened, his fists curling at his sides. Michael, you don't understand what's waiting out there. That car, do you even know who sent it? Do you know if you can trust them? Narrator. Her heart pounded. The maid had promised the driver was safe, someone who once helped Sarah. But Michael's words dug deep, planting seeds of doubt. Emily, shaking her head, I can't trust anyone in here. Not you. Not them. I'd rather take my chances out there than live like this. Michael flinched, as though the words had cut him open. His voice cracked. Michael, pleading, I fought for you, Emily. I stood against them for you. Isn't that worth something? Emily's tears spilled over. Emily, it is. But it doesn't erase the chains you put on me. It doesn't erase the lies. You only fought for me when you realized you were losing me. Narrator. For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. The hum of the idling car outside seemed to grow louder, as though time itself was urging her to choose. Michael's voice broke the silence, softer now, almost broken. Michael, if you walk out that door, I can't protect you. They'll come for you, Emily. And this time, they won't stop. Emily's hand pressed protectively over her stomach. Emily, firm, through tears, then let them come. I'd rather face the unknown than raise my child in fear. Narrator. Her voice shook, but her resolve was steel. She took a step forward. Michael's eyes widened, pain and fury colliding in his expression. Michael, horse don't. Emily's heart screamed inside her chest as she brushed past him, her shoulder grazing his arm. She yanked the steel door open, the cold night air slamming against her skin like a wave of freedom. The car outside flickered its headlights twice. The driver stepped partially out, a burly man in a cap, his face hidden in the shadows. Driver, urgent whisper, quick. Get in. Narrator. Emily hesitated only for a moment, then bolted toward the car. Her feet slapped against the concrete, her breaths ragged with both terror and exhilaration. Behind her, Michael's voice thundered, breaking into the night. Michael, yelling, Emily. Don't go. You don't know what you're walking into. Narrator. But Emily didn't look back. She dove into the back seat of the car, slamming the door shut behind her. The driver shifted into gear, the tires screeching as the car sped away from the penthouse. Emily pressed her forehead to the cool glass of the window, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time in months, she felt the wind of freedom on her face. Narrator. But as the city blurred by, she risked a glance at the driver. His face remained shadowed under the cap, his jaw tight, his silence unnerving. Emily, cautiously, you're the one the maid sent, right? The driver didn't answer immediately. He adjusted the mirror, his eyes flicking toward her. Driver, flat, chilling, let's just say. I've been waiting a long time to meet you. Narrator. Emily's stomach dropped. A cold shiver raced through her body. Something in his tone didn't sound like rescue. It sounded like possession. She gripped the journal tighter against her chest, her breaths quickening. The neon lights of the city seemed to fade, swallowed by the darkness ahead. And far behind, on the penthouse balcony, Michael stood in the night air, his hands gripping the railing, his voice hoarse as he whispered into the void. Michael, broken, to himself, God help her. They've already found her. The car roared through the darkened streets, the city lights fading behind them like dying embers. Emily clutched her journal against her chest, her other hand pressed tightly over her stomach. Every nerve screamed that something wasn't right. The driver's silence was heavy, his knuckles tight on the steering wheel. He hadn't once looked back at her. Emily, hesitant, voice trembling, the maid, she said you helped Sarah. She trusted you. That's why I came. Narrator. For a moment, the man chuckled under his breath, low and unsettling. Driver, coldly, Sarah. Yes, I remember her. Sweet girl. Thought she could run too. Emily's heart nearly stopped. Emily, stammering, what happened to her? The driver's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, catching her gaze for the first time. His eyes were hard, empty. Driver, she didn't make it very far. Narrator. Terror surged through Emily's veins. She gripped the door handle, her pulse racing. The city was gone now, replaced by endless stretches of highway and shadows. Emily, panicked, you're not helping me. You're taking me to them. The driver smirked. Driver, smart girl. They paid a fortune for you and that baby. And I always deliver. Narrator. Emily's chest tightened, her breath shallow. The trap had been set from the beginning. The maid, was she tricked? Or had she betrayed her too? Her eyes darted around. The window, the locks, the road. Escape seemed impossible. But she refused to give up. Narrator. Suddenly, headlights blazed behind them. A black car sped forward, closing the distance fast. Emily's heart leapt. Michael. It had to be him. The driver cursed, gripping the wheel tighter. Driver, angrily, damn it. He's faster than I thought. Narrator. The chase was on. Tires screeched as the driver swerved wildly, trying to shake the car behind. Emily slammed against the seat, clutching her belly, every bump jarring through her body. Michael's car stayed close, its headlights burning like unyielding eyes. Emily, screaming, Michael. Help me. Narrator. The driver growled, pulling a gun from under his seat. Emily's eyes widened in horror as he aimed it at the rear window. Driver, he won't save you. Nobody can. Narrator. Before he could fire, Emily lunged forward, grabbing his arm with all her strength. The car swerved violently, the gun going off with a deafening bang, shattering the side mirror. The driver snarled, shoving her back, but Emily clawed at his sleeve, desperate. Emily, screaming, I won't let you take my baby. Narrator. Michael's car rammed into the side of theirs. The impact sent sparks flying as the two vehicles battled down the highway. The driver lost control for a moment, swearing loudly. Emily seized her chance. She reached for the door handle, yanking it open despite the wind tearing at her. Michael's voice roared from the other car, his window down, his face fierce. Michael, yelling, jump, Emily. Now. Narrator. Her breath caught. The road blurred beneath her, the speed dizzying. Fear gripped her, but so did hope. Emily, to herself, whispering, for my child. Narrator. With every ounce of courage she had left, Emily threw herself from the car. The world spun, wind, concrete, pain exploding through her body. She tumbled across the pavement, her screams swallowed by the night. Michael slammed on his brakes, leaping out before his car had fully stopped. He sprinted toward her, his voice raw. "Michael, desperate Emily. Hold on." Narrator. The driver's car screeched to a halt 100 yards ahead. He stumbled out, gun still in hand, limping toward them. Michael shielded Emily with his body, his own hands shaking but steady as he faced the man. "Michael, furious, you'll never touch her. Not while I'm alive." Narrator. The standoff stretched, gun pointed, breath heavy. Emily groaned, clutching her stomach, her face pale. Suddenly, sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights flooded the night as police cars swarmed onto the highway. The driver cursed, lowering the gun and bolting into the darkness. Officers chased after him, but Michael didn't move. He knelt beside Emily, tears spilling freely down his face. Michael, broken, whispering, "Stay with me. Please. Don't leave me now." Narrator. Emily's hand reached up weakly, brushing his cheek. Her eyes, though heavy with pain, held a faint smile. "Emily, softly, you came for me, even after everything." Michael's voice cracked. "Michael, I'll always come for you. I swear it." Narrator. As the paramedics rushed in, Emily was lifted onto a stretcher. Michael never let go of her hand, his lips pressed to her knuckles. In the flashing lights, amid chaos and fear, a fragile thread of hope glimmered. Because Emily wasn't just running anymore. She was fighting, and Michael, despite all his flaws, was fighting with her. Narrator. Soft, emotional. And as the ambulance doors closed, carrying them toward an uncertain tomorrow, one thing was clear: sometimes love isn't about perfection. It's about sacrifice, about showing up when it matters most. Moral. In the darkest storms of life, trust may shatter and fear may rule, but true love is proven not in words, but in the courage to fight for each other, even when everything seems lost.